What is up, guys? Welcome back to Cop Logic. It's a little bit early, but we are doing the match preview for Liverpool versus Fulham in the Carabao Cup. It is, of course, the semi-final first leg at Anfield. Massive game, in my opinion, impacted perhaps a little bit by the result last night. Obviously, the 2-0 win against Arsenal, huge results. We're still in all four competitions, but that does mean more games. We did go strong for that game, so how will that impact the team selection for this game? We're going to take a look at that. But just on the January transfer window, before I get started, we do have some big news regarding Jurgen Klopp coming tomorrow. So if you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit subscribe so you can be here when that drops. But let's move on to this look at Liverpool versus Fulham semi-final. So I usually like to start by looking back at, past fixtures with the team that we're playing. Now, obviously, we very recently did that with Fulham in the Premier League when we did that match preview, and I think it's interesting to touch on that game particularly because I don't think this is going to be an easy fixture, unfortunately. You look back at that last game, we played a very strong team back then. It was 4-3 at Anfield, and we very nearly lost that game. It wasn't for a late resurgence, the goal from Wataru Endo, and then obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold to seal the win. That could have very well been our first loss at home all season. And I think I mentioned this in the match preview last time when we did take a look at Fulham. But Fulham are a little bit of a bogey team for Liverpool. If we just take a look at some of these past results, obviously the last game this season at Anfield finished 4-3 to Liverpool, but in 2022-23 season, at home, Liverpool won 1-0. Away, it was a 2-2 draw. The 2021 season, at home, Liverpool actually lost to Fulham 1-0, and away at Craven Cottage, we drew 1-1. Now, those numbers don't exactly inspire confidence, and I really don't think this is a game that we can afford to take lightly. I think this is a huge game. I think it's kind of 50-50 what people prefer in terms of what people levy their importance on, whether it's the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. I know people have their favourites, and I know typically a lot of people would probably say the FA Cup, but I've got to be honest, this is our first chance to win silverware this season. It's our first opportunity. We're technically a double tie away from a final at Wembley, which I think is huge. Can't be underrated, the kind of boost that gives the players, the mental boost, if they go and lift a trophy this early in the season. I think it's important. I think it's huge. And we're talking about a semi-final here, so, we're so close already. We have to take this seriously, in my opinion. Obviously, we've got a few players missing ourselves via injury and also via the international competitions. AFCON, Mo Salah's gone. The Asian Cup, we've lost Wataru Endo. Wataru Endo, I thought, was a huge loss against Arsenal, actually probably the most notable loss. And we've got a number of injuries as well, but Fulham aren't much different in that department. They've got their own share of injuries, Adama Traore, for example, and they're also missing players. They're missing a number of key players, actually, because of AFCON. One important one being Alex Iwobi. I think that could be a huge loss for them at Anfield. Obviously, Alex Iwobi, with this sort of Everton connection there, could be a game that you think he'd really get himself up for. He was dangerous in the last tie against Fulham. So, yeah, I think that's a big loss for Fulham. But they've also got Chelsea to think about in the league on Saturday. In terms of their form as well, because it's important we look at form. The Arsenal game yesterday is a perfect example of this, right? How difficult of a game that was against Arsenal at Anfield in the Premier League. And then, obviously, we've gone to the Emirates, we played them in the FA Cup. And I think, look, we were under the cosh in the first half. They were absolutely battering us in the first half, not going to lie about that. But second half, we were a much better team. And I think over the 90 minutes, Liverpool deserved to win it. And in the end, we've come away with a 2-0 win at the Emirates. It's a totally different game to last time. The same could be said about this Fulham game, potentially. If you look at recent form for Fulham, they've recently been beat by the likes of Burnley and Bournemouth. But then in their last Premier League fixture, they did beat Arsenal. So, it's actually kind of hard to judge their form at the moment. The one thing I will say is the win against Arsenal did come at home. And if you actually take a look at their fixtures, they have been notably worse on the road, and of course they will be away at Anfield for this one, so that's a positive thing. They're missing some key players, they're not so good on the road, their form is a little bit flaky at the moment. Hopefully we can capitalize on that. I think we definitely have to go strong. There are key players out on both sides, but we can put a strong team out. We've seen us put a strong team out against Arsenal. I think we have to do something similar in this game. So that brings us nicely onto team selection. Let's go through that now. So starting with the goalkeeper, it's going to be Caoimhin Kelleher in goal. This is his competition, and similarly to last time, Jurgen Klopp will play him in all of these games. He will even play in the final should we make it there. So this is Caoimhin's competition. He plays regardless of Alisson's form, regardless of anything like that. Kelleher in goal. As for the rest of the team, as I've already explained, I think this is a huge game and I am going to go strong for it because I want to win this. I want to lift some silverware as early as possible. So I'm going Virgil van Dijk. Now, I haven't seen Jurgen Klopp's press conference yet as I'm doing this a little bit earlier than normal. So I'm not sure whether he's going to be available or not because there was that illness that kept him out of the Arsenal game. If he is available, I'm starting him. If he's not available, of course, I'm going to start Ibrahima Konate alongside the other centre-back, which is going to be Jarell Quansah. Now, I know Jarell Quansah started against Arsenal, but I think it's dangerous to have Konate play 90 minutes twice. Rather than play Konate again for 90 minutes, I'm going to go Jarell Quansah with a view to take him off and bring Konate on later in the game. I could see potentially Klopp going with Van Dijk and Konate. Of course, if Van Dijk's not available, I'm going Konate and Jarell Quansah. We don't really have any other choice. It's going to be Jarell Quansah and Virgil van Dijk for me, but you know, in a way, I kind of hope Klopp does go strong and play Konate and Van Dijk. I just don't want that to come back and bite us in terms of injuries with Konate being so fragile. Keeping that theme of a strong team selection in mind, I'm obviously going Trent Alexander-Arnold and Joe Gomez in the fullback positions. There really isn't any other option if we're talking first teamers for either side now, because we are struggling with injuries, although Andrew Robertson and even Kostas Tsimikas apparently are both fairly close to coming back, which is really good news because we desperately need that. You know, it's always a huge risk playing Joe Gomez in these games just because, again, he's so injury prone. I don't really want to have to play him every single game, but at the moment, it does feel like we don't have a choice, and I do think this game's huge. Again, I've already said Fulham is not going to be easy. It's not going to be as easy as perhaps people think it is, so I do think we have to go as strong as possible, and that has to be Joe Gomez and Trent Alexander-Arnold in the fullback positions. In the defensive midfield slots, it has to be Alexis Mac Allister. Again, we don't have any other options with Thiago still out, Stefan Bajcetic still out. Alexis Mac Allister is the selection. Now, I think this is an area that we really struggled in against Arsenal. We are missing Wataru Endo massively. Thought he was the biggest obvious miss. You know, of course, we're missing Mo Salah as well, but it really felt like it showed against Arsenal how badly in that first half we were missing Wataru Endo. The midfield felt non-existent. They were just walking through it. The back line was under pressure constantly in that first half. You know, a lot of time we couldn't even get out of our own half. It was really, we were really under the cosh. The fact Arsenal failed to score says a lot about them and about the issues they're having this season. Wataru Endo, a massive miss. Alexis Mac Allister, though, our only real option, so we got to go with him again. As for the centre mid positions, this might give you some idea of what I'm going to go with up front, but I'm starting Ryan Gravenberch as left centre mid because he didn't start against Arsenal, so he's probably the fresher of the options we've got available. So I'm going to give him a start in this game. And then Harvey Elliott, I'm starting on the right because, again, not that many options. Curtis Jones perhaps, but I think Harvey performs better off the right. He certainly links up really well with Trent Alexander-Arnold as well in that position. And I think actually in the game against Arsenal, when Jurgen Klopp pulled Harvey back, put him into the midfield and then sent Diaz and Darwin out wide, the game completely changed. That was the point where the game changed. Liverpool were all of a sudden on the front foot. We were a threat, and ultimately it won us the game. So I think Harvey has to go in midfield for me here. Moving on to the forwards, Diogo Jota didn't start the game against Arsenal, so he definitely gets a start in this game for me. I'm going Diogo Jota as the lone striker. I know Diogo Jota can play on the left, but I'm actually not starting Luis Diaz on the left this time. Cody Gakpo is a potential option to start on the left. I actually think Cody Gakpo didn't have a very great game against Arsenal. I know he was in midfield. I know that's not his position, so it's kind of harsh to judge him, but I don't think he had the greatest of games, and I actually think the threat that Darwin Núñez offered on the left was far greater than the threat we see from Cody Gakpo when he's on the left. So with that in mind, I'm actually going Darwin Núñez on the left wing, and I'm going Luis Diaz on the right wing. Now, I think the biggest positive we can take from that Arsenal game is the discovery of Luis Diaz on the right wing and Darwin Núñez on the left wing. I think it absolutely changed the game, and I also think this could be our answer to what we do while Mo Salah is away. I think Luis Diaz performed phenomenally on that right wing, and Darwin Núñez was a huge threat on the left as well. It allowed us to use his pace to get in behind a lot more. You know, he only has to go one-on-one with the fullback. You know, we've seen it with the likes of Sadio Mane. He started on the right wing, he was moved to the left wing, he finished his career at Liverpool down the middle. Klopp is not a stranger to moving players around when he finds these kinds of solutions, so I don't know, this could be something we look at going forwards, but right now, certainly off the back of that Arsenal game, I think the answer to no Mo Salah is Luis Diaz on the right wing, and I honestly do believe that Darwin Núñez offers a lot more than Cody Gakpo as a threat on that left wing, with his speed, his pace, his ability to get inside. And Diogo Jota, of course, having not started the game, definitely deserves to start this one. And, you know, he's the fresh leg, so I think it just makes the most sense to start Diogo Jota. And with these three in mind, I think this is the best lineup for them. As I said, I want to win this game. I want to lift this trophy. So I know I've gone strong there, but I think it's necessary, especially if we take a look at these win predictions. Liverpool 44%, a draw at 23%, and Fulham at 33%. Now, this is a two-legged game, but those percentages are a lot closer than I would like, I'm not going to lie. I definitely don't want to draw because I want to take at least some sort of advantage back to Craven Cottage. As I said, there are players out on both sides. We are at home. I'm hoping we take advantage of that. I think we absolutely have to take advantage of the fact that we're at Anfield, put out a strong team, take as big an advantage as we can get back to Craven Cottage with us. I personally would like, you know, at least a 2-goal advantage. That would make me feel comfortable. So with that in mind, for a score prediction, I am going to go 3-1. Fulham are going to go for this because this is potential silverware they can lift this season. You know, they're in the same position. It's a semi-final. They're thinking about the fact that they're only a couple of games away from a potential final here, the option to lift some silverware. They're absolutely going to go for this, and off the back of their last performance at Anfield, they're going to feel confident. So I do think they're probably going to get a goal. They're going to be a huge threat. And at the same time, you know, I just hope that Liverpool capitalise on the fact we're at home, capitalise on the fact that Jurgen Klopp puts a strong team out. So I'm going to say 3-1 because I want that 2-goal advantage going back to Craven Cottage. That's my score prediction, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Get your score predictions in, and make sure, as I said at the start, you subscribe to the channel for all your news surrounding the January transfer window and that video on Jurgen Klopp tomorrow. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.